Welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant, and this channel is all about Canadian immigration news, updates, things you should do, things you definitely should not with regards to your Canadian immigration application. Today we are going live on YouTube as well as on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and somewhere else as well. I can't remember which other platform, but wherever you are, welcome to the platforms and welcome to the channel. Every Saturday morning, or most Saturday mornings, except for a few where I have not been on, we go through or we have this episode of weekly roundup where we talk about the things that have happened during the week, the good things, the bad things, things that concern us, things that trouble us, of course, with regards to the Canadian immigration and the landscape that surrounds this particular subject. And we also talk about things that may be of concern when you're submitting your application. Just like that, we will again do the same thing today, and starting with our short presentation before we then take on questions and answers. If you are joining us on Instagram, because my phone is very far away from me and I have to use these and therefore I can't really see your questions, then I suggest please jump onto the YouTube platform so that we can then also see your questions and address them. So therefore, that is what I would suggest if you have questions, if you're on Instagram. But apart from that, let's get cracking. Starting with the quote of the week: a ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are for, said John A. Shedd. How true is that? I mean, we all want to be safe. We all want to have that security. We all want to have that understanding of nothing's going to go wrong. Everything is safe. Everything is well taken care of. But if we will just stay in our comfort zone, if we will always stay within the cocoon of knowing that we are safe and we don't want to go out and venture out, we will never ever know what better bounties are waiting for us. And therefore, and that has not been the purpose of us being only in one place, just being surrounded. We have to get out of the comfort zone. We have to sort of do things that we otherwise wouldn't have. We have to take those small, tiny risks. Only then we will find out the benefit that we can get by doing so. Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Stay up to date with us on different platforms. We are also on TikTok. I don't know why we're there, but we're there in addition to all other platforms. Topics of discussion today would be the PNP updates. We would talk about the express entry and the brilliant goof up that IRCC made there. And of course, we have some other news, and we also have a hot topic for discussion, and that is in relation to the TR to PR program. So stick around for that one. Starting with the PNP draws, we had British Columbia. On September 13th, British Columbia invited over 290 candidates to apply for the PNP programs. Majority of the candidates were invited under the tech draw that they have. In order to apply for the British Columbia PNP, for people who are not aware or not familiar with that, you need to create your profile on the British Columbia platform. SIRS is called SIRS. And there is another caveat with British Columbia, and that is you should have a job offer from an eligible employer in British Columbia. That is the caveat there. And there is only one stream in which you don't need the job offer, and that's the international graduate stream. That is also if you have completed your eligible program under specific fields. That is when you don't need a job offer. But in all other programs and streams, you will need a job offer. So do check British Columbia's website out for more information if you are interested in that program. If you are in BC, if you are looking to set up your profile and start your program. Next I have on my list is the Prince Edward Islands. On the 15th of September, they have also conducted their draw and invited 142 people. Great number. This was in combination of their labor market streams as well as the express entry stream and the entrepreneur stream. Now, with Prince Edward Islands, also there is a small thing that I want to talk to you about, is that a lot of agents and consultants out there will try to lure you in or try to trap you or try to fool you into believing that they will file your application in Prince Edward Islands. They will lodge your file in Prince Edward Islands. But please note that Prince Edward Islands is the smallest province in Canada. Their immigration quota is also extremely small, and therefore, with all sensibilities of retaining maximum number of people in their province, they tend to prefer people who are inside the province. Very rarely, under very rare circumstances, do people who are outside the province get an invitation. So while you are most welcome, you most definitely can create your profile on their portal, and you should, if you are waiting for an invitation in a different program, you always should have all your options exercised. So make sure you do create your portal account. No harm in doing that, but don't pin your hopes only on Prince Edward Islands. They don't really happen. So that's one thing that you should be aware of as far as the Prince Edward Islands is concerned. Saskatchewan has been a beauty. They continue to invite people. They have continued with their round of invitations. They have been very aggressive. They have really been on a roll. And this week, on the 15th of September, they invited a total of 326 candidates for the PNP programs, which is under the OID stream and Express Entry stream. Now, OID stream basically means occupation and demand stream. Express Entry stream is a no-brainer, means you have an Express Entry profile. So which basically means even if you don't have an Express Entry profile, even if you are not eligible in Express Entry, let's say because of age, because of low IELTS scores, or whatever the reason might, or because you cannot get 67 points, you can still create your profile on Saskatchewan, provided you can crack the 60 points eligibility criteria that Saskatchewan has. Their requirements of IELTS and their requirements of education, etc., are quite basic and standard, if at all you are able to crack the 60-point eligibility criteria. And therefore, this time they have invited 326 candidates with the lowest score of only 60, which basically means if you have 60, which is the eligibility criteria, then you would have gotten invited. Of course, there is a caveat. I'm going to talk to you about that in a bit, but this is what makes it amazing, right? So if you are eligible, you have gotten invited, and that's great. And this is not the first time. This is already now the second time they've invited people at the score of 60. Now, the only difference is with Saskatchewan is that they choose specific NOC codes. They choose specific occupation codes based on their labor market priorities, which is normal. I mean, they obviously cannot invite everybody. At this point of time, Express Entry pool has roughly 240,000 people, 240,000 people, and there are many, many, many more who are waiting to jump into the pool. So it's obvious they obviously cannot invite every single person out there. Therefore, they choose people, or rather they choose profiles, or rather they choose occupation based on their labor market demands, labor market priorities, and based on that is how they identify the NOC code. So this time, with the score of 60, they invited 6 NOC codes: 7237, 7241, 7242, 7271, 7312, 7321. Who are basically trade categories. And if you were one of these trade categories, then you would have been invited, and congratulations. Now, there was a question earlier, somebody who said, how can somebody in trade category have a score of 60? Because that would still need a lot of education and a lot of specific IELTS scores. Now, first of all, please do not underestimate people who are in the trades category, because they can also be qualified. They can also have suitable amount of work experience. They can also have suitable education. That's the first one. Secondly, Saskatchewan gives a lot of points if you have relatives in Saskatchewan, or if you have a valid verified job offer in Saskatchewan. In both these circumstances, you can get between 20 to 30 points. Add to that, if you are also bilingual and you are a francophone, then you can also get 10 additional points, up to 10 additional points for French as your second language. So you see, there are plenty of opportunities there for you to bump your score up, increase your score, and obviously still be eligible. And yes, 60 points is what was invited for Saskatchewan. So great one there, Saskatchewan. Next is the goof up that we have with Express Entry. Now, Express Entry draw happened. Thankfully, it continues to happen every 2 weeks and doesn't leave us high and dry anymore. Again, all program draw, 14th of September, as anticipated, as expected. And as true to the promise, Sean Fraser had said they will be gradually introducing the all program draws and the invitations there. So this draw, there was an increment of 500 ITAs from the previous draw, where the invitations issued were 2,750. This time it was 3,250, 500 more, thankfully. And I hope they keep going like that. This was the 6th all-program draw ever since the 6th July. Ever since they started conducting the draws back on the 6th of July. And the minimum cutoff that was announced on the 14th was 511, with the tiebreaker date of 13th of September. Now, what happened is that a lot of people, after the draw was announced, a lot of people then came out and said that their score was 510 and they have still received an invitation. And obviously, that was a bit of a concern for some people as to should they accept the ITA, should they not accept, what is happening, what's going on. And obviously, based on a lot of information that was coming through, I was quite sure that IRCC has made a mistake, that there is a typo somewhere. somebody has made the mistake of between 511 and 510, and next morning IRCC did update the draw page and it became 510. So now the latest express entry draw can be understood to be at 510 with a tiebreaker date of January, okay, which basically means everybody whose score was 510 and who created their profile before the tiebreaker date was included in the draw, they would have received the ITA. Everybody who created the profile after that date with the score of 510 would not have been included in the draw, and therefore they would get invitation in the next draw. But the pool is looking scary, to be very honest. This time there was an increase in the pool number of up to 1,200 for the score range between the score range of 501 to 600. There were nearly 1,200 people which were added to the express entry pool, which basically means it's a big number that got added. It puts a lot of pressure on the remaining express entry pool numbers in terms of what to anticipate, what to expect for the next draw. What that also meant is, why such a big number? And a lot of people have been asking, why was there such a big increase of 1,200 people in this segment? Well, one of the biggest reasons is in the month of August, a lot of people completed their education in Canada. Because they completed their education in Canada, especially if they were completing master's degree, even if they were completing a 1 year or 2 year program, they would have got anywhere between 15 to 30 points added into their profile. That's the first thing. Now, if they had completed this program, let's say 1 year back, then they would have also started working in Canada and therefore completed their Canadian work experience by August, or would be completing by September, which basically meant system gave them additional 35 points. And in combination of these two, a lot of people also added, or rather got upgraded or had additional points to join the express entry pool with that high score. Not to mention the number of people who are continuously securing job offers and LMIAs has also been increasing. I mean, I know for a fact a lot of our clients were able to get their LMIAs approved. So that's a big number coming through. And 50 points with an LMIA always is a bumper draw, if you can say, because that helps them get their points out there. So that's been going on. That's been helping. But what this basically means is, I'm still saying October is when I expect that the draws will come below 500, because at this point of time, we are at a score of 510. There are roughly 4,000 some profiles above 501, which that brings me to the fact that the next draw should be in the range of 505 to 507 or 504 to 507, that kind of a segment. And if they will issue 3,750 draws or invitations in the next draw, that would then put us safely in the anticipation that in the month of October, the scores should, in the first draw of the month of October, or definitely I think the second draw of October, that would be more, that would be much more better one to go with. That by second draw of the month of October, you should have a score of below 500. That would be the anticipation. Of course, it all depends how many nominations are being issued, how many invitations they issue, how many more people get jumping into the pool. So with all these speculations, October seems like a fair month to anticipate the draws going below 500. Beyond that, then if you're already crossed October and you're already under 500, then you have about 5,800 people with a score of 491 and above. That then tells you that 490s should get cleared by the month of November. Now, when I'm saying gets cleared by the month of November, anticipation, okay, this is just anticipation. It actually might get pushed to December, and I will tell you why. One of the reasons I feel that there may be a pause, maybe, okay, not necessarily it happens, but maybe because the knock changes comes into play on the 16th of November. Now, if that happens on the 16th of November, then there is a high possibility that they may pause for one draw, or they may not conduct a draw on that day, or it may happen, there might be a bit of a disruption in the routine. I'm hoping not, because IRCC has been on top of things and has not been on top of things in terms of the system, in terms of technicalities, and therefore there might be a bit of a blip, if you want to call it. If that happens, or any kind of disruption happens, obviously that's going to put a pressure on the scores, because more people keep joining express entry pool every single day. The pool remains dynamic, and with that might push the clearance of 490s to go into the month of December as well. And with that happening, it basically means the scores below 490 gets pushed, or rather the anticipation of the score going below 490 gets pushed to the end of December or January And that's what we are looking for, scores below 490 next year, early next year, as a much better prospect than this year. It can definitely happen this year as well. But you have to also keep in mind, a lot of nominations have not been issued. Ontario is holding on to a lot of nominations. I know some other provinces have not yet issued out a lot of nominations. Nova Scotia hasn't issued out. Newfoundland Labrador is also holding on to some nominations. Saskatchewan has just woken up and is absolutely on the run. So some of these nominations would get released at some point of time this year itself. And that's when you will see also a bump in those numbers above 601 in the CRS score, which will then put a little bit more pressure. And therefore, safe to assume that 490s ideally should get cleared by December. With that meaning the scores to go below 490 should then come into the month of January. Hopefully, if they do another back-to-back draw, I'm hoping, there's no harm in hoping. That's the reason I stay forever hopeful. I'm hoping there could be one back-to-back draw. There could be one big draw. Hopefully, IRCC continues with incremental increase for every single draw by adding 500 invitations. At some point of time, they will sort of level it off. They won't keep on adding. They will not continue to add 500 invitations in every single draw. At some point of time, it will level off. So that is also that number which we would be very eagerly waiting to look at. I feel it will be somewhere around the range of 4,000. And with that, yes, that's what I anticipate. That's what I feel. That's what I think. That's, in my opinion, that 490s should get cleared in December. With that, scores below 490, you're looking at last draw of December or January moving forward. So that's how the express entry draw is looking like, or rather the pool is looking like. In other news, now this is where it gets interesting. Let's talk about TR2PR. Now, I know I've made a lot of these videos about TR2PR not coming back, and I'm still saying TR2PR is not coming back. When I'm saying TR2PR is not coming back, what I'm trying to tell you is that it is not going to come back in the same way that the TR2PR came in the year 2021. TR2PR, the nomenclature means temporary residence to permanent residence. So if you take that literally in the real sense of the word, then yes, the program will come back because they are already working. It was in the mandate letter that they will be working on a program to give them a pathway for temporary residents to become permanent residents. So in that understanding, in that textual understanding of that word, yes, a literal understanding of the word, yes, TR2PR will come back. But what I've been saying all this while for the whole year, for this whole year of 2022, that TR in 2021 will not. People are expecting that the program would be the same as it was in 2021. There is no way that it would be. Sean Fraser himself has come out and said very clearly that it would have no resemblance to how it was in 2021 because that was a one-time thing. However, the speculations keep building. My fellow consultants on TikTok keep hyping up that this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Register with us, give us your file, and all that. But and then obviously there are these news reports. I think there was one on CIC News which came out that Shadow Minister Jasraj Singh Hallan has also come up and said that he is also anticipating that Sean Fraser will make some announcement in terms of the TR2PR and that he's looking forward to this TR2PR program being launched or rather announced now. Just let me give you a bit of a background on that. Any new program would basically means if it has a relation to how it should be, then there could be a new bill that needs to be passed, which will then have to be tabled in the parliament. Based on that, the anticipation is that though the parliament resumed session this week, but obviously with the Queen passing away, that was it was more low-key. So the next active day of business would be 20th of September. And that is where the anticipation has gone up of expecting some big announcement to be made on the 20th of September. I'm all for the big announcements. Trust me, as a consultant, as a business owner, it is in my favor that something like TR2PR happens because that basically means more program, means more clients, means more business, means more money. Hey, I'm happy. But that's not what I'm trying to tell you. What I'm trying to say is please stay away from all those media hypes where they make you believe that it's going to be the same way that it was last time. Oh, make your this form, get this form, and get your IELTS done and get your PCC done and do all. When the program has not been announced, when the technicalities have not been announced, when the criteria has not been announced, how can any lawyer, any consultant tell you what it would entail and what it would look like? Yes, we all understand that the immigration forms are same. They will always ask you for 0008. They will always ask you for 5669. They will always ask you for 5406. They will always ask you for 5562, because these are the four basic fundamental immigration forms. So that's going to happen. But anything beyond that is ridiculous to sort of lay down a criteria as a consultant or a lawyer, because they have no clue what exactly is going to happen. Yes, the expectation has been built up based on the comment from Jasraj Singh Hallan, who said that he was anticipating something like this happening. It's quite an ironical one, because the table, or rather the motion M44 based on which this is all being done, let's talk about this. The motion M44 was actually proposed by a member of the Liberal Party, Randeep Sarai, who's an MP from BC Surrey, and whatever he mentioned in the motion M44, and I've discussed this in detail so many times, I don't want to sound like a broken record again talking about it, so you can always watch the previous video. So in the motion M44, the 6 points that he's discussed, most of those 6 points are already being covered under Bill C-19 or under the new NOC tier system. So because of that, I am very skeptical something out of the box is going to come out. Now, where it is different is, and let me get back to this, where it is different is the fact that immigration minister's mandate letter did state that it is Sean Fraser's responsibility or mandate for this year that he should define or design or develop a program within express entry. That was the mandate letter, to develop or expand pathways for international students and foreign workers. That is the mandate. Sean Fraser himself has quoted, and I've played that video before. I'm not sure if I have it right now. Let me just see if I can pull that up. No, I don't have it right now. So Sean Fraser himself has also very clearly indicated and said that motion M44 is putting him on clock. Yes, he also indicated that he is working on a framework to bring up a new permanent program. When they say permanent program, means it is going to be something like what you have, express entry, right? Express entry is not a program, but federal skilled worker program, Canadian experience class. These are permanent programs. 2 years before, or rather 2 years in advance, that there is a permanent program which you can use for your permanent residence application in Canada. That is what Sean Fraser means by designing a permanent program, which will be there for some time to come, based on which people can make their plans and design their pathways in advance to see which way they want to go as far as immigration to Canada is concerned, whether they're international students or foreign workers. Yes, if you take the nomenclature, yes, it is TR to PR, but at the same time, this will be a program which will have no resemblance to the TR to PR in 2021. And that's what I have been saying. Now, on 20th of September, if an announcement is made, and I will be so happy that if an announcement is made, because one, not that I don't want an announcement to be made, one, because it will give us so much more clarity. It will remove all this riffraff who has been giving all kinds of, making TikTok videos and YouTube videos and saying all kinds of whatever. That will clear that out. We would collectively, me included, have so much more clarity as to what exactly are they talking about, which way are they going. That will help me help plan my clients and their pathways better. So I definitely will be very happy if they have a clear plan to say, okay, this is what they want to do. And that is what I would also hope, if at all something like this is released on 20th of September. But until something like that happens, let's just hope and pray something like this comes out sooner in terms of a new program that IRCC has been talking about, or rather Sean Fraser has been talking about. Now, next, Ontario is also looking to switch to the NOC 2021. IRCC has already made that announcement that 16th of November, they will be changing the NOC system from the current current 4-digit NOC to the new tier system, training, education, employment, and R is for, keep forgetting. So the tier system, we have to figure this out. We can't sort of let it go. TERER 2021. What does it mean? I still can't figure that out. Training, education. Anybody else has it? Let me know, because it's bugging me right now. I can't remember what No, that's not how it was supposed to happen. Okay, does anybody else know what is tier? Because I'm suddenly skipping my mind on that one. I'll just wait for a comment on that. Responsibilities. Thank you. Thank you, Balaji Durayaraj. Thank you. Responsibilities. Yes. Training, education, employment, and responsibilities. That's great. Thank you, Twinkle. Thank you, Balaji. So yes, that's what tier system is. It is going to be implemented effective 16th of November. And once we get to that, you would then be updating your express entry profiles, or rather before that, hopefully, you would be updating your express entry profiles to reflect your new knock codes, which will be a 5-digit code. 16 new categories have been added, and therefore they will also be eligible under the express entry draws as and when they happen. Based on that, other provinces are also making changes. Manitoba has already announced they'll be making the changes. At some point, Saskatchewan will also be making the change. And Ontario is now also decided that they will have to make the change, because obviously they all have to be on the same page. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. Ontario has opened up for discussions. That's the way it has to be done from them. And also, they are expecting the implementation of new knock codes by the 16th of November, just like everybody else. But Ontario is also making changes to its employer job offer stream, which is for people who are inside Canada, who have a job offer from an employer. They're also making some changes to their international graduate stream that is also going to sort of help people apply for that stream in a better manner. And they're also increasing the number of penalties, or they're also increasing the penalties on rogue consultants and lawyers or representatives who try to mislead the province, or who provide fraudulent documents or misrepresentations and help their clients in the wrong manner, or mislead them, misguide them. That is also getting stricter. So yeah. Now, that was basically the presentation. That's we're all done with. But I have a hot topic for discussion. And because I've been talking so much about it, and I've said this so many times in the past, and I want to see in comments here, what should the new TR to PR program look like? Now, before you start discussing the new TR to PR program and what is your thoughts, or what are your thoughts on that, let me give you a bit of a background so that you can put it in context. Canada's quota for this year is 431,000 new immigrants. And mind you, that does not mean all 431,000 has to be from express entry or any economic program. 431,000 is the total quota for the entire year for all businesses, all lines of businesses of IRCC, which is, of course, federal high skilled, federal skilled worker, Canadian experience class, business immigrations, self-employed, caregivers, Ontario's immigration streams, Ontario's entrepreneur stream, humanitarian and compassionate, refugees, protected people, protected persons. All these categories are included in a figure of 431,000. As of August, they have already achieved 300,000 as the immigration quota for this year. They've already achieved. So the remaining September, October, November, December, 4 months, they have only 131,000 target to achieve, which basically means that they should definitely get through to that. With this understanding that this is the quota, and for next year, it's about 450,000 as a quota, with federal high skilled quota being about 75,000. With this in mind, what do you think would the new TR to PR program look like? Let's hear in the comments. Also keep in mind, there are more than 1 million people in Canada who are temporary residents. They are international students and foreign workers and people who are in international mobility program. They are on open work permits. So there are almost 1 million people. Now, if Canada is to now open up the program, TR to PR, what would it look like? How would it facilitate nearly 1 million people? Is there a program that they can come up with that would help them bring a relief for 1 million people? And if it is not going to be for 1 million people, like it was for like in 2021, all they could do was about 90,000, right? What would it look like? And how would people who cannot get through that program feel like? What would they be wondering? What would they sort of start thinking in terms of why are they not eligible for TR to PR? So let's hear your comments. I'll be picking up those comments as we go through today's session, because obviously we're not going to wait till we get the comments. But this is something to think about, because we still have 3 more days to go before any announcements. Anticipation of announcement is, and hopefully once we have that, we'll have more clarity. But what do you think? How should TR to PR program look like this time? It definitely cannot be the way it was last year. It's not like if you've just completed your 2 year of program, bang, apply. If you just have 1 year of work experience, bang, apply. It's not going to be that easy, right? It's not going to be that simple. It's not going to be that straightforward. So that is already understood. What do you think it's going to be this time? Also keep in mind the mandate letter says inside express entry. So does it mean they will continue with CEC draws or Canadian experience class draws? Because that is also one way of giving opportunity to people who are in Canada. They did CEC specific draws throughout 2021. Will they go back to doing CEC specific draws, and will they call that TR to PR? Because hey, CEC is TR to PR, right? CEC is for people who are temporary residents in Canada, get Canadian work experience, have Canadian education, in some cases Canadian education, can then find a pathway. So if they already have CEC as a program already, then another pathway which says temporary resident to permanent resident, yeah, that's I definitely need clarity on that one. So let's see how that is understood and that is designed. Again, just a reminder for people who are on Instagram. Honestly, I would love to see the questions you're posting, but I can't see the questions. It's too far away from me. So jump onto our platform on YouTube. We are doing live on YouTube. Come out there, post your questions there, because now we start with a question and answer session, and we'll be happy to take your questions there. Okay. And that's basically it. If you're still on the channel, if you're still watching this, first of all, smash that like button so that this video goes out to more people. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, then please do. Love to see those numbers going up. And from there on, we now are onto our question and answer session, starting with the first one here, which says, let's just get rid of this first. What's the current spousal sponsorship timeline? Well, the current spousal sponsorship timeline is inside 12 months. At least some of our clients, we've been receiving approvals in 4. I think the most recent one that I got an approval for a spousal sponsorship was 3 months and I think it was 25 days. Incredible. 3 months and 25 days is the period of time I got a spousal sponsorship approval that was inland. And but that has been my fastest. But most of all our applications that we have submitted, we have been getting all of them, or rather, except for one, I think all of them we have got them within 12 months. So I can safely say, since we filed so many of them, I can safely say that it's definitely within the 12-month period, the current spousal sponsorship time. And you can always refer back to CIC websites as well. Okay, Jaren has a great question, and I think this is something which a lot of people get it wrong. But let's understand this. Are ghost updates a reliable way to assess PR application process or PR application update? The answer is no. And the reason for that is, what is ghost update? Let's understand what is ghost update. So the way IRCC's system has been designed, express entry system or the GC key system, is that it has very limited functionality on the front end, on the user interface. So for example, you're the client, you're the user. The screen that you see from the IRCC's account, the GC key account or your application account, the options available for updates on them are very, very limited, very, very few. In progress, we have started your background checks, we will let you know. So those are standard updates, and they're very, very few in terms of options. Now, this is an old system. This was designed they started designing the system in 2012. Finally, it was launched in 2015. It's full of glitches, as we all know. They keep making all kinds of updates to it, but it continues to have all kinds of glitches. We are hoping and anticipating a new system would be launched at some point of time, because there are a lot of work going on in the background. But with the current system, there are very limited options available. And therefore, when IRCC completes some work on the back end, which is the global case management system, that is the system that they use to process your applications, handle and update the record of your application. So they use GCMS system. The corresponding update in your application, there aren't many options. And when there isn't any relevant option, the system triggers it as a ghost update, where it says there has been an update in your application, but when you click on it, there is no update, and you can't really figure out what that update is. And therefore, the activity done on the back end by IRCC, then because there is no corresponding update to reflect, it shows up as a ghost update. That is what is a ghost update. And no, definitely it has absolutely no direct connection that once you get a ghost update, you will get an approval. It isn't like that. Sometimes the update on the back end or the process at the back end could be for something totally different. It could be the medical has been updated. It could be they did some work on your assessment. They could have done your eligibility. They could have done your criminality check. They could have put in a request to continue with your criminality check. Maybe they completed the information sharing. Maybe they have initiated the information sharing. Maybe they have asked for more documents. Maybe they're not from you, but from a different department. Maybe they have flagged your application for a different person to review or to check. It could be any number of things. The minute they make an update on the back end, in some cases where the system needs to then correspond with the front end, it shows up as a ghost update. And that's what basically tells people that, oh, and this, yes, there have also been cases when most of the activity done on the back end did not trigger anything. And only at the final stages when they were saying, okay, this application is good, this is ready for visa, let's get it done, let's get it approved. And they made that final assessment, final amendment, and that is when a ghost update has been triggered. Based on that, people have started assuming that a ghost update now means that they will get an approval or that approval is near or around the corner. It's not always that. So in some cases that has happened. I will not disagree with that. But then again, you do not know what exactly was done on the back end for that to be triggered as a ghost update so that you can get an approval. So don't always rely on ghost updates. I've been seeing ghost updates and woo all the time, but it's not really always a sign of a good news or a passport request at the other corner. All right. My profile is an express entry waiting for notification of interest. Okay, for any kind of PNP draws, knock, do I have a chance? I cannot answer those questions because obviously I will need to take a look at your profile in detail. By all means, do feel free to book a consultation, book an appointment if you want us to discuss your profile one-on-one and understand what your chances and options are. Here, I can only take up questions which are more generic to everybody else instead of checking on every single individual's knock code and identifying. But in this particular question, it was also that I have received my work stamp, or rather work visa stamped. Should I wait for PNP? Well, if you have a work visa, you can come to Canada, you can start working while you can also continue waiting for your PNP. Both are not going to impact each other. In my reference letter mentions full-time. Is that enough, or do I need to get 45 hours on a stamp paper from a colleague? It's always best that your letter mentions the number of working hours. But if it mentions full-time, that is also acceptable. But it's always recommended if it can mention the number of hours per week. Please give your thoughts on a new program. Do you think it's going to be NOC specific? I know there is no clue, but I want to know your expectations and thoughts on this. Any new programs which will come, they will definitely have some relevance to the labor market priority, definitely, because otherwise they will just not be able to regularize or offer a program to so many people. In the last TR to PR also, there was a NOC-based draw, or rather NOC-based process, not a draw. I'm expecting something similar, if at all something like that happens. But more to that, at this point of time, nobody knows exactly what, if at all there is a new program, how it's going to look like, what it's going to look like, what the process is going to be. So yeah, I mean, while any new program will have, definitely should have some impact with terms of occupation-based requirement, but it's just a speculation at this point of time. My husband got work visa, will be landing in October. How kids and I can go as soon as possible? Well, if your husband has an LMIA, the husband has a work permit, then you can also apply for your open work permit, and your children can apply for a dependent visit visa or a visitor record once they go to Canada. I'm a CEC candidate. I've started foreign work experience. Will my 1 year of work experience count in mid-March or April 1st? Well, express entry system, because it calculates the work experience by month year, it tends to calculate, or rather it tends to give you your points 1 month before you would have actually completed your work experience, because the starting period is calculating as 1st of the month and the ending period it's calculating as the 30th of the previous month. And based on that, it gives you that 1 month, it gives you the points 1 month earlier. So it doesn't matter when the system calculates your work experience or gives you those points. What is important is that you should only submit your application after you have completed that period of work, because the assessment that is done by the visa officers on the back end is manual. It is not based on what system calculated, but they will actually go through the documents and validate and verify if you've actually completed that period of work that you are claiming points for. I informed IRCC about passport renewal, but no response. They are not picking calls. How should I contact IRCC? Well, you don't need to do anything. I mean, if you've already updated them with your passport, then that's it. Nothing else to be done. And them not responding is now become quite normal. I mean, there's nothing strange about it. IRCC doesn't respond. I went to Canada on the 16th of September. In September 2016, didn't need biometric. My husband added me on a PR file. I have provided PCC. Will I need biometrics? Yes, you will need biometrics. They should be asking you for biometrics at some point of time. Is it okay to prepare a proof of funds letter and PCC certificate in current country before ITA? Yes, you can absolutely do that. There is no problem. Just be aware of the validity periods. Proof of fund letters, we usually suggest that you submit within 30 days of the date of the letter. So the application should be made within the 30 days period, number one. And PCC always has a validity period of 6 months from the country of your current residence. So be aware, or be mindful of that as well. Okay. Our score is 465. Any chances? Sorry, not looking at those knock-based and chances kind of questions. I have applied for work permit extension. Would it be safe to cancel the fake extension I applied for to get onto implied status? If you will cancel the previous, or rather, if you withdraw your previous application, you will be out of status. And because you're out of status, you will now need to apply for restoration of status. So don't do that. Let it continue. How does it matter to you? It's not like going to make any big difference anyways. With the tier update in November, how long the pause of draws would be? Well, again, that is just what I think may happen based on what happened in the past as well. Not necessarily it happens. First of all, that is one thing that we should be aware of. And if it does happen, it probably will be for 2 weeks at most. I don't expect more than that. Okay, a lot of questions about pathways, which I'm not taking here. Okay, let's see this. My father is applying for a visit visa as his previous visit visa has expired. Therefore, he will be showing his funds and ties back as he will be sponsoring his trip and his expenses. Do I also have to show mine? Well, you can provide an invitation letter, and that should be good enough. My work experience is of a researcher and lecturer. Any province where this job is in demand? Well, suggestion for you and several other people who are asking similar questions for different knock codes is to please research different provincial websites. Please check their demand list. Please check their criteria. Please check their past draws and data, and you would be able to get that answer yourself. Wife's open work permit, child's visitor visa done through a consultant. How to transfer the application file to a private GC key? Is it advisable to link my GC key or have separate GC key for all? Well, you can have one GC key. You can port that application into your one GC key. You can have separate GC keys. You can still do that. When you create a new GC key account, there is an option called Link My Application. Okay, click on that. Answer the questions very, very clearly, exactly as per what was mentioned in your forms and in your documentation. And based on that, you would be able to link your application. Can I apply for more than one PNP at the same time? Or does the government allow only one province application at one time? And after its refusal, another province you have to apply? Well, good question. And let's take this one. So when you submit your application for province, now there is a difference. Now, a lot of people confuse certain things. You can file your expression of interest to as many provinces as you want. So you can make a portal account in Saskatchewan, you can make a portal account in Ontario, you can make a portal account in Prince Edward Islands, you can make a portal account in Manitoba, British Columbia. Anywhere that you think you need to make a portal account, you can do that. You can also submit an expression of interest wherever that might be a possibility. However, once you get invited, so let's say you receive an invitation from one province and you proceed to submit an application to that province, from there on, submitting an application, let's say you get an invitation from a different province, and from there on submitting an application to that province, now that is a contradiction. Now, why is it a contradiction? Because for any province, for any PNP program, when you're submitting an application, one of the big fundamental criteria is that your intention should be to reside in that province. You would be making certain claims. You would be signing forms where you will be saying that I intend to reside in this province. I want to reside in this province. I want to come to your province. I want to live in your province. That is what you're telling a province. Okay. Simultaneously, if you then also apply because you have received an invitation in a different province and also apply there and say, I want to live in this province. I want to live in this province. You are now contradicting what you have just told one province. And this is basically what is going to put your application into trouble with both the provinces. Okay. So don't do that. But as I said, you can file expression of interests in all the provinces. That is not a problem. You can choose all provinces when you're creating your express entry profile. That is also not a problem. Once you have received an IT and you're submitting an application to one province, at that point of time, stay true to that province. Okay, otherwise you are in contradiction of your intent, and that could land your application in trouble with both the provinces. Okay. The firm that I worked for is registered at location A in the city but is operating at location B. Is it okay if the letterhead mentions location B in the experience letter? That's absolutely fine. There is no problem with that. I haven't got biometrics letter for study visa application. It's been 5 days. Should I be worried? No, you shouldn't be worried. It will come through. Don't worry. Sometimes IRCC systems just take a bit more time in certain applications. So don't worry about that. Are experience letters with duties mentioned and 6 months of bank statement enough for 1 year of experience, or pay slips are mandatory? Now, pay slips are not mandatory. What happens is IRCC needs some proof of you being paid. Now, that is also not a requirement, but they come back and they ask you anyways. So my suggestion is always to provide pay stubs. If you cannot provide pay stubs, that's fine. Provide bank statements that show salary credit. Provide income tax returns if you have them. And this should by itself be fine. There's no problem with that. Can you please give advice between choosing a CRS score of 469 versus CRS score of 493? I think it's a no-brainer. 469 has no chance. I mean, when I'm saying it has no chance, I mean it has no chance. Yes, it happened in the year 2020, in the month of November, December. But now, as of right now, with today's circumstances, with today's situation and what is happening, let's see, did we take a look at that? Hold on. You make it, you take a look at this yourself. Where do you think 461 and 4? Okay, let's get this out. The score between the score range 461 to 470 is at 16,541. But you know how many people are there more than 470 at this point of time? 19 and 9 is 28 and 5 33 and 6 39. You're looking at roughly 41 to 42,000 people more than 469 at this point of time. And if you think they are going to get cleared anytime soon, then I hate to break it to you, they are not going to get cleared anytime soon, because of the way the number, I mean, you will simply say, okay, if they issue 4,000 draws per draw, then within 10 draws, they should get cleared out. So I should have a chance because 40,000 people will get cleared out. It doesn't work like that. Every time the draw gets cleared out, there are more people who keep getting added with the same number of scores or better scores. And there is obviously there is also the annual quota. This year's quota was already completed. All the invitations they are issuing is against the next year's quota, which is 75,000 people. Only 75,000 people, not applications. From there on, the following year, it will be 110,000. So it's looking difficult, my friend. 469, it's a no-brainer. If you have an opportunity to go with 493, any day, take it any day, because I always say this, a bird in hand is so much better than two in bush. And something which you are anticipating after 2 years, 1 year, 1.5 years, who knows what's going to happen? We all know there are so many changes that are anticipated in 2023 with Express Entry, which will only make CRS scores more difficult to get in terms of what you will anticipate for a draw. With all that in mind, you have option for 493. Take it today and absolutely run with it. There is no problem. My would-be husband got visit visa. Can we get married in Canada and apply inland for 6 months? Can he stay with me for 6 months? If your spouse or if your fiance has a visit visa to come to Canada, then yes, you can get married in Canada and then you can apply for inland spousal sponsorship. You see, one of the big things that happens in a spousal sponsorship application is that what IRCC is looking at is that did you get married for the reason of getting a PR? Now, if that is what you're trying to do, then don't do that. Please don't do that, because that is going to cause problems. Instead, get married in your country, wherever you are, in the most way culturally possible, the way you do get married, with the consent of your families and friends, if that is obviously okay, and with their presence. So you can have ample of proof and ample of pictures to show that this was a genuine marriage, happened in the genuine circumstances, everything is good. After you get married, your spouse, because your spouse has a visit visa, can come to Canada. Once your spouse comes to Canada, you can then file your inland spousal sponsorship and then live happily ever after. In that situation, you will not create more red flags as to the intent for what you're trying to do here. So that would be my suggestion. But yes, technically, if your spouse comes to Canada, you get married in Canada and then file an inland spousal sponsorship. That's absolutely technically legal and allowed. There is no problem with that. Thank you for the super chat, Nomadic. I have just received my open work permit approved and my spouse is studying in Windsor. Now, which province I can target to work that helps me get PR easily after 1 to 2 years of experience? Well, what you need to do is you need to check individual PNP websites and you can see where your occupation may be most in demand. Probably look for an employer or a job offer there. Join the job. I mean, get your job done, processed. Get there, start working. While you're working, if there is an option to submit a PR application or a PNP application with the support of the employer, then go ahead and do that. If not, just simply complete your period of work experience. You will be eligible in the Canadian Experience class, and at the same time, if that gives you the benefit to apply for the PR through that PNP program, then you can absolutely do that as well. Praveen, thank you for the super chat, says, I received ITA this month on PNP category. I am already in Canada on a work permit. Do I need to retake medicals or would an LOE be sufficient? I took my last medical from India in June. If you are inside Canada, well then, Sean Fraser has already announced and IRCC has already announced that if you are inside Canada, then you would be exempted from medicals. And then they said further information will be announced in the few weeks. Now, knowing IRCC the way IRCC is, that few weeks could be from few days to God knows when. But since they've already announced that, what I would do is in such cases, take a screenshot of that notification on IRCC website and add a cover letter saying that IRCC has announced that you do not need medicals if you're inside Canada. And that if you still need it, then please send me a medical request and I will get it done. Otherwise, please process my application considering me as exempt from medicals. And you would be absolutely covered for all possibilities. Surya says, is there any time limit set by IRCC to the number of times an application can reapply after any visa refusal? Is there a definite time period after which the applicant should reapply after refusal? Good question. No, there is no limitation as to how many times you can reapply. You can reapply within the hour after you get refusal. But the good practice would be to first understand the reason for refusal. If what you're talking about is a temporary residence, for example, a visit visa or a study visa, or even a work permit application, what you should first be doing is trying to figure out why was it refused in the first place. And then order GCMS notes if you have to, order KEPS notes, the same thing, and understand what the visa officer's concerns were, and then reapply after addressing those concerns. Because if you just reapply with the same application, with the same documents, with just making changes that you think were the reasons for refusal, then you could be just flying blind and heading for another refusal all over again. So don't do that. Instead, understand the reason for refusal and reapply. But there is no limitation. You can reapply as many times as you want. There is no problem. Just keep in mind that the more number of applications that you keep applying and getting refused, especially if it's a temporary residence visa, it's only you informing IRCC that you're extremely desperate to come to Canada and you definitely are not an individual who has credibility and will want to sort of make their application better, but you're simply just reapplying again and again. And while you can do it and you keep losing money of the application fee, IRCC will have no problem in continuing to refuse your application. Okay. TR to PR maybe could also include the visitor visa pathway to becoming permanent. I don't think that is going to happen at all. And the reason why a visitor visa to becoming PR is never going to happen is because there is no incentive, there is no motivation for the government to do that. Why would they tell you that come to Canada on a visitor visa and then become a PR? It doesn't make any sense, in the sense like, it is just encouraging people to come to Canada with the intention of choosing a PR pathway when they should only be coming to Canada on a visitor. It will completely make of the whole process. No, that's not going to happen for sure. Okay. Patel says, for the tier 2 PR, maybe they will give more weight to the international students who have 2-year education and 1-year knock, because it will be an express entry. Yeah, good point. Absolutely. I agree with that. That is a possibility that they could look at. Within the express entry system, they could choose to give more points, one for certain occupations. They can choose to give more points for a period of education. They can give more points for certain fields of education. That is also, all of these are possibilities. They can increase the number of points that they give for the number of work experience periods. They could give points for more points for spouses' work experience and the knock code that the spouses are following. So all these possibilities, all these combinations are available. Let's see which one IRCC comes up with. There should be no point system for students who complete their education here. If you complete your education and 1 year of work experience, they should give you permanent residence. That's why students come. Great point, but I don't think it's possible. And the reason for that is the number of people who come to Canada as an international student versus how many people Canada can take as permanent residents cannot match. Cannot match now, will not match in future. And therefore, this option is not going to work. Also, when you come to Canada, your intention is to study. That is your primary intention. And that is what you're stating in your study permit application. And by that means, your expectation should never be that you would get permanent residence. Okay? The fact that it is other way around, that we all know, that we all understand. And obviously, Canada does encourage people who are already in Canada to apply for permanent residence. And one of the biggest reasons for that is because once you come to Canada, you are already acclimatized. You understand the culture, you understand the way things are done, you understand the life, you already settled in. Therefore, making the transition is easier for you versus somebody who's coming from outside Canada. You already have Canadian work experience, possibly. You already have experience with the way things are done, and therefore it makes it much more easier for you to settle in. And that is one of the reasons why already people get advantage for points for their Canadian education and work experience. So that is already there. But to simply say, okay, you come to Canada as an international student and then you start working and get a PR, that's not going to happen. At least that's what I think. I could be wrong, but I don't see that happening. There are 1 million people right now in Canada who are international students and foreign workers. You think they can make them all PRs? Okay, Saurabh says new tier to PR should have separate streams for international students with previous work experience and working in Canada irrespective of 1 year experience. Well, they don't have separate streams and there is no point of making separate streams. What they do have is giving you additional points. They're already giving you additional points. If you have foreign work experience, you get points. If you have foreign work experience plus Canadian work experience, you get more points. If you have Canadian work experience, you get points. So the combination of foreign work experience and Canadian work experience already gives you additional points. So yeah, something that they're already doing. Jasmeet says, my spouse is studying in Canada. I am on a work permit. Post 1 year of my work experience, can I apply for Express Entry PNP program as a primary applicant? Absolutely, you can. You see, a lot of people confuse themselves into thinking that they are in Canada as a dependent of an international student or foreign worker, and therefore they cannot be a primary applicant in a different application. That is not true. Express Entry or a permanent residence application is a different program altogether. If you are eligible as a principal applicant, by all means, apply as a principal primary applicant, even if you're a spouse of an international student or a foreign worker in Canada. There is no problem. There is absolutely no issue. You can be the primary applicant for a PR application. Okay. Kiria says, tier to PR is likely to focus on those knock codes that are in demand, another fast track system for those who can fill vacancies. Yes, great point there. And that is what the motion M44 is also indicating. Now, it's only the question of what knock codes, because if they will just pick knock codes and they say you have work experience, apply, then they're doing exactly what they did last year in 2021, which Sean Fraser has said very categorically that it will not resemble anything what happened last year. So I think while they may encourage certain occupation codes, certain knock codes to be able to apply under the new program, whatever that might be, there would also be certain other criterias around it, which would then give that option to certain segment of the population. But yeah, great point. Got IT on the 14th of September, planning to visit India in Diwali. Can I do medicals in India? Considering the cost, any complication, I'm inviting with my application. You can do your medicals and biometrics anywhere in the world. There is no problem. You can do it in India, you can do it in Canada, you can do it in US, anywhere in the world. There is no problem. There is no complication. Okay, increase quotas for TR status people. Well, I have never seen any fixed quota for TR status, so I don't see that going to be an issue there. Alberta Express Entry, when it would resume, I can't tell you because Alberta never makes any announcements about their background or how they are treating their programs. Okay. FSW backlogs update, please. Well, we haven't received the new data. Once I do get the new data with regards to the backlogs, most certainly I will share that with you. But from what I understand, the applications are being cleared. they are, I mean, from what Sean Fraser, again, I keep saying what he said because he has thankfully been coming out and communicating to all of us more often than not. And he has said that all backlogs should be cleared before the end of this year, all. Now, if that happens, then I'm sure they're already working on the backlogs. They're already clearing as much as possible. We are still seeing a lot of passport requests coming through for people who are in the backlog. So I would not have any doubt that that should get done. Do you expect the draw sizes to reach a plateau of 5,000 ITAs or something lower? Well, I expect the draw size to sit at 4,000, give or take. So at most 40 to 50. I don't expect to see more than that. And the reason for that is because of the quotas. They have, this year's quotas are already completed. Rather, they had surplus of 20,000 from this year. Next year is only 75,000 invitations. 75,000 quotas for next year, which they should basically fulfill by sending out only roughly 45,000 invitations or 50,000 invitations. They have already sent out quite a few this year. And when we get into next year, for the first 6 months of the next year, the invitations that they will be issuing will also go towards the next year's quota. So with that in mind, I don't see 5,000 ITAs as happening. But the IRCC, right? Anything can happen. Who the hell am I to say whether it can happen or not? Possibilities of 471. Well, we have discussed that. Please watch it again if you haven't still seen the answer to that. Can someone apply for study visa and a visitor visa at the same time? Well, yes, you can apply. There is no harm in applying for both at the same time, as long as you are able to establish your purpose of visit and your purpose of study quite clear. How about Alberta Tech Pathway? Earlier, I was doing a manufacturing job and now I started quality control job. Can I apply for Alberta Tech Pathway? If you have a job offer from an employer in Alberta, or if you have a work experience in Alberta in the specific NOC code and you have a job offer, then by all means, you can apply for their expression of interest. You can complete their expression of interest and then they can come back to you and say whether you are eligible or not. Okay, another one on TR2PR. Give international students turn... Oh, we lost connection to the camera. Okay, not sure why that might have happened. Still trying to check. If it works, it works. Otherwise, we will have to just sort of, you know what, we're going to change this here to see if I can. Give me one.